children are somebody, and they deserve full equality right here, right now. My mother is somebody, and she deserves full equality right here, right now, right here, right now. Families belong! Families belong! Families belong! Families belong! Families belong! Power to the people!
Ready? Vote them out. Vote them out. All right. Washington, D.C. Thank you for being here. My name is Sebi Medina Tayak. I represent the Piscataway Indian Nation. And this demonstration is in our land. The White House is on our land. Congress is on our land. And so we're going to control our destiny on our land. Primero quería empezar. Quiero hablar a los inmigrantes aquí. Y por favor, no me interpretan, por favor, porque estoy hablando a ellos, estoy hablando a los migrantes. Y antes de que me interpretan en inglés, por favor, interprétame en maya, en quechua, en aymara, en náhuatl. Porque primero, antes de inglés, quiero hablar a ellos. Quiero hablar a los migrantes indígenas de este continente. Yo soy de la nación Piscataway y todo lo que es Maryland y Washington, D.C. es en nuestro territorio. Y para nosotros, la palabra Piscataway, el nombre de nuestra tribu, quiere decir cuando ríos fluyen juntos. Quiere decir que todos somos un pueblo, que todos somos unidos por el agua, por el aire y por la tierra. Eso quiere decir Piscataway. So I'm saying the word Piscataway means the confluence of waters. It means many waters flowing together. It means we're united through the water, through the air, and through the land. Entonces, quería empezar con eso. Y para ustedes que lo están viendo aquí en Washington, D.C. y los que están viendo ahí en sus teléfonos o sus televisores, bienvenidos a esta tierra, bienvenidos. A ustedes, bienvenidos. I said to my immigrant relatives, welcome. You're welcome here. Porque nosotros no creemos en muros, no creemos en la deportación, creemos que todo este continente es una tierra y todos somos juntos en esta tierra. We don't believe in borders, we don't believe in walls, we don't believe in deportations. That this is one continent together. So I'm going to start with a prayer. I'm sorry for burning your sage. It was necessary. Para nosotros, para hacer oraciones, para hablar con nuestro Creador, para hablar con nuestro Dios, rezamos con tabaco. So for us to talk to our Creator, to talk to our God, we pray with tobacco that I was generously given here. So I want to invite Valeria. Where's Valeria? Come here. So take some of that with your left hand. Okay. We're going to make a prayer here. Creator, please watch over these children, watch over these families, bring them back together. Bring our leaders to justice and bring them to knowledge. Embrace them. Embrace them in your loving embrace, Creator. Please watch over these families. Please take care of them. And please let our families and our nations be whole again. Please, Creator, our movement, we pray for our movement. You pray that you let us see clearly and you let us act in clear ways. We pray that we act as a movement and act as a family and not as a corporation or an industrial complex, Creator. Please, please, aho, we are all related. Okay. Now, I have one last thing. I want to share a song with you. I'm part of an intertribal drum group here in DC. You can follow us on Instagram at Uptown Boys DC, but boys with a Z. And we wrote a song. We're from many different tribes, but we wrote a song because of this political moment that we're in right now, where migrants are under attack. And this song is in the Aymara language. It's an indigenous language in Bolivia. And this song means take courage. It's talking to our immigrant youth mostly and our immigrant relatives. It's saying take courage because we're here with you. We're in this together, and Mother Earth will watch over you. Sarasa untan casta o saita sin un chasin fuerte Pachamama cuidas que tú ay 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 ya buena ya re yo yo we ha yo hey ya hey ya ya we ha yo hey 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 we ha yo hey ya hey ya ya hey ya hey ya hey yo honey manta simpia ya sarasa untan casta o saita sin un chasin fuerte Pachamama cuidas que tú hey oh hey 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 oh. Thank you. I'll end with this. What does it mean to recognize the land that you're on? Is it just to know that this is Piscataway land? Is it just to know that simple fact that people used to live here for tens of thousands of years before this city was built? It's not just that. Recognizing land is recognizing not only the people that were here before, but it's recognizing that their bones are under your feet right now, that people lived here, that people are buried here, that there are sacred lands all over DC you might not know about, but you should walk with that knowledge. You should walk with that sacred knowledge that where you are, people might be buried here. It's also recognizing the non-human relatives here. It's respecting the environment here. And what it also means is the current communities that are here. When you saw those kids locked up in cages and you learned that they were in 2014 under the Obama administration, I hope it made you really rethink our system. I hope it really made you rethink what family separation is. It's not just at the border when they lock up kids and they take them away from their moms. It's when a mom is deported. It's when a child is deported. And you know how most families are separated? By the U.S. system of economic imperialism that forces people to migrate from their countries. It's from our military interventions in Central America, South America, and the Caribbean that forces people to move here. That's how families are separated. That's how most families are separated. And did you know And did you know that those kids who were locked up in those cages in those photos you saw, did you know they live in Washington, D.C.? They live here. They live here. And we recognize them. So when you recognize this land and you recognize indigenous people, recognize those people because they're indigenous people too. They're young people and they need your help. So I'm glad you came out here and marched, but get involved. Recognize the land. Recognize the land and get involved with your local organizations. What about those kids? What about those immigrants? Get in there. Stop these deportations. Help fund and resource these kids that had to come unaccompanied because of economic and political and violent situations in their home country. Support them. Support them. There's a lot of organizations here in D.C. I'll name one. Many Languages, One Voices, one local organization that you can support. The Youth Action Team, those are those kids in those cages grown up. So support them. Do something about it. Thank you.
How did we get here? How did we get to this moment in time where thousands of children have been separated from their families? They have endured unspeakable hardship, heartache, and violence in their own countries. Their mothers and fathers risked everything to bring them here, to the United States of America, to seek asylum, justice, and to build a better life. And when they reached our border, these children were ripped from their parents' arms. Young boys and girls, toddlers and babies, yes, babies, held in cages and in detention. This cruel and inhumane policy wasn't an accident. It was by design. This administration and the president have been planning this for more than a year.
Our Department of Homeland Security personnel going to separate the children from their moms and dads.
Yes, I am considering, in order to deter, I am considering exactly that.
Word started to get out that something terrible was happening at the border, that they were arresting everyone, including asylum seekers. And then, Attorney General Jeff Sessions got the green light from the president and announced its new policy to separate families.
I have put in place a zero-tolerance policy, and that child may be separated from you as required by law.
Throughout the month of May, thousands of families were divided. Children were shipped to different states in the middle of the night. Young boys held in detention camps. And we still haven't seen the girls and the babies.
How is this not child abuse?
Which, be more specific, please. Enforcing the law?
The public cried out for this zero-tolerance policy to end. The president lied and said that he couldn't stop it. But we refused to back down, and he signed an executive order. He thought that he could fool the American people with it. But we know that all he did was add to the horror and make indefinite detention of families the policy too. This is why we march in cities and towns today. We want to unite these families with their children and stop separating them in the first place. We want to end indefinite detention, and we want to stop the inhumane policy of zero tolerance. This is our message. It is one of love, respect, and filled with American decency because it is simple. Families belong together and free.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Jocelyn. Yo llegué en los Estados Unidos con mi hijo en agosto de 2017 buscando seguridad.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Jocelyn, and I came to the United States with my son in August of 2017, seeking safety.
Gracias. Soy una de las personas principales en la demanda del ACLU.
I am one of the main plaintiffs in the ACLU lawsuit.
Cuando llegué, las autoridades se llevaron mi hijo, lo llevaron muy lejos de mí. Yo estuve detenida por inmigración en Texas por 2 meses. No supe dónde estaba mi hijo. Mi defensor público me informó que él estaba en Chicago.
When we arrived, the authorities took him from me. They took him far away. I was put in immigration detention in Texas, and I didn't know where he was for 2 months. My public defender told me that he was in Chicago.
Duramos 9 meses y 9 días separados. Durante este tiempo me informaron que mi hijo podría entrar en proceso de adopción y yo tenía mucho miedo de no poder verlo de nuevo.
We spent 9 months and 9 days apart. During that time, I was told that he could be put up for adoption. I was terrified that I might never see him again.
Me han trasladado 3 veces, una cárcel federal y 2 centros de detención. Durante este tiempo pasé días terribles, enferma y sin esperanza.
They transferred me to a federal prison and to 2 detention centers. During that time, I spent many days sick and without hope.
Luego conseguí una abogada y me uní a la demanda presentada por ASLU. Yo quería unirme a la marcha para recuperar a mi hijo y por todas las mamás que están sufriendo lejos de sus hijos.
Then I found a lawyer and I joined a lawsuit filed by the ACLU. I wanted to join this fight to get my son back and for mothers who were suffering because they were away from their children.
We are with you. We're with you.
Thank you.
We see you. We love you. We see you. We love you. We see you. We love you. We see you. We love you. We see you. We love you. We see you. We love you. We see you. We love you.
Mi abogada en las Américas, en El Paso, me ayudó a salir con bajo fianza y mi hijo y yo finalmente estuvimos juntos el 5 de junio de este año.
My lawyer at Las Americas in El Paso helped me get released on bond, and my son and I were finally reunited on June 5th of this year.
Me perdí 9 meses de su vida. Esto nunca ha debido pasar. Estamos juntos de nuevo gracias a la demanda y gracias a ustedes. Ustedes marcharon para protestar esta cruel práctica de separar niños de sus padres. Mi hijo y yo estamos juntos y por eso yo estaré eternamente agradecida por ustedes.
I missed 9 months of his life, and that never should have happened. We are together again thanks to that lawsuit and thanks to you. You marched to protest this cruel practice of separating children from their parents. My son and I are together, and for that I will be forever grateful to you.
Las familias merecen estar juntas. Las familias merecen estar juntas.
Families belong together. Families belong together.
able to be happy, playful, weird, and what they are doing is stopping you from doing that. And I think that's unfair. No kid should be put in jail because one, they could be separated from their families, and two, it's just wrong. You haven't gotten to see much of America yet, but there are so many different things the president would think about everyone else who is suffering and sad and try to help. People may argue that there are good reasons for this, but there are not. There isn't even one good reason. Me and my mom won't stop protesting till everything is right. Love, Olivia. Thank you.
Dear friend, I wish I could meet you and help you to follow your dreams, because that is something no one can ever take away from you. The pain you feel today is the strength you will need to carry on and keep going. It may feel hard, but you can do it. I know you can. You are not alone, and if you ever feel alone, just think of me and all the other people in the world that want to help you and your family get back together. I know that if we met, we would be great friends, and we could talk about what you are going through and make you feel better. Your friend, Addison.
This is a letter to all the children in the detention centers. Do not think of America as a cruel place where people hate you and put you in jail. There are people, good people, who are going to help you find your families again. Family separation is not right, and we will keep fighting until each and every one of you is back in your families again. That is a promise. My father came to America at age 17 with $400 in his pocket. Now he has his own business, a wife, my sister and I, a nice house in a beautiful neighborhood, and is a proud American citizen. So don't give up hope. Anything is possible. With love, Nola.
My name is Lucy. I am so sad that you can't be with your family. That is so messed up. I would miss my family too. I would miss their hugs and playing with my sister. I wish I could give you a big hug. I know that kids should be with families. My family will keep fighting to make sure that happens. Love, Lucy.
Keep it under your face.
Strong kids.
They're beautiful, aren't they? Yes, they are. As beautiful as those children down in McCallum. Hello, my name is Dr. Amy Cohen. 3 weeks ago, I traveled from my home in Los Angeles to the border town of McCallum in South Texas because I had to. As a child psychiatrist who spent much of my career treating trauma in vulnerable populations, I knew that what we were doing went far beyond the heart-rending distress that we were seeing on TV. I knew that my government was deliberately torturing young children. Shame. And I knew that as a doctor, a parent, an American, and a human being, I had to act, and I had to say, not in my name. I've only just come from Texas. The heartbeat of that time was Sister Norma's Respite Center, an astonishing place. There, children and parents released from the hardship of detention would come to find respect and care before departing for distant destinations. Every day, the vision of children clinging to the dusty pant leg of a father, reaching up to be lifted by a mother, invoked how a child's very sense of safety and security is tied to their knowledge that their parent will be present. The children who have been taken, whose parents and sense of safety have been stolen from them, these children try every day to summon their parents as children do, with whimpers and cries, with calls, with lifted arms. Every time their cries go unanswered, they experience again the terror of being alone and helpless. As days pass and cries for their parents are unanswered, they often grow quiet and despondent. The chemicals that are released under this kind of stress begin to break down the developing brain, the small body, sending off a cascade of damage, much of which may never be repaired. There is no more damaging thing that can be done to a child than to rob them of their parents. Not war, not physical pain. That this has been done purposefully is unthinkably diabolical. Shame. 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 Not in my name. And what of the parent whose child has been kidnapped? While their bodies may be more resilient, they are plunged into their own hell of panic and grief. How must my child be suffering? How can I get to them? How can I protect and nurture them? As healthcare providers, we must demand that this stop. These separations must end. These children must be reunited with their parents, and quickly. As healthcare providers who know the torture to which these children have been subjected, we must insist that our government provide the best trauma treatment available. These children who will be lucky enough to be reunited with their parents will have a very long journey ahead. As healthcare providers, we must demand that we be let in to inspect the facilities to which these children have been taken and the care that they receive. And most of all, we must demand that these separations, that this torture can never be allowed to happen again. Never again, never again, never again. Beyond separations, as we heard and as we know, this government now plans to incarcerate parents and children for months, maybe years, until their asylum claims are adjudicated. This, too, is atrocity. And again, I say, not in my name. Not in my name. We must not allow this. When people flee unspeakable horror and reach our shores, as my grandparents did, as some of yours did, we cannot tolerate a government that treats them with cruelty, brutality, and indecency. It must end. Not in our name. Not in our name. Not in our name.
Not in our name.
Thank you.
Not in our name. Not in our name.
Great.
Hello. My name is Jordan Deardoll Roberts, and like you, I chose to be here today. We've seen the state of our nation and decided we must take action. Life is about making choices. We face a million choices every day. Some choices are so easy, we don't have to think about them. Turn right or left, coffee or tea. But some choices are daunting. Do I just do my job, or do I risk everything and say no when the tasks I've been given are immoral? In February, I faced that choice. It was my job at the Montana Department of Labor to pass information to ICE that would be used to deport people. I couldn't do it and live with myself. In February, I had seen the video of Border Patrol dumping life-saving water in the desert with full knowledge they were condemning people to death. I had seen ICE arrest people who had been reporting to them for years, throwing them in immigration detention centers where they were abused. I had seen loving families torn apart for no good reason. I couldn't comfortably sit by and let it happen. I couldn't be part of that machine, even if I would only be one small gear. I couldn't just follow orders. It was my choice. I had to choose what was right, even though it meant placing my family at risk. I was no longer comfortable with the demands of my job. Those who are comfortable will not change. I wouldn't have had to quit if just a few more people joined me in saying it was wrong to perpetuate our cruel immigration system. I later asked my governor, Steve Bullock, face to face, to change the way departments dealt with information requests, or to even just release a simple know your rights statement so those terrified by the news of ICE in my state would be more prepared. He did neither. I should have been less cordial as I left the department. Instead, I chose to prioritize the comfort of my coworkers because I needed good job references. I should have been more demanding when I met with Governor Bullock. Instead, I chose to prioritize the comfort of my governor because I wanted to be civil. I failed to convey the urgency of the situation. Those are mistakes I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life. I tried being nice, and nothing changed. Now there are thousands of children in cages. I walked away, thinking no one but my family would support me. I was wrong. An entire community rose up to help. They took care of my family, and I was faced with another choice. I could have just found a new job, but I knew I had to do more with my freedom. I choose to keep fighting because it is the only moral choice. We have no moral right to be comfortable when the price of our comfort is injustice. A few days ago, I marched with United We Dream and Mi Gente under the scorching sun in Tornillo, Texas. We were marching toward the gate when a bus filled with children drove past. The children jumped out of their seats waving. One kid raised their tiny fist. If nothing else, marching that day, we let those children know we are fighting for them. We all have choices to make. Choices that will define us as individuals and as a nation, especially those people working in immigration right now. I'm talking to federal agents, lawyers, politicians, social workers, support staff, and administrators. You need to decide right now what side of history you want to be on. You may think you are only doing your job, but your actions have consequences. You may only be filling out paperwork, but your work separates families. You may only be opening and closing the gate, but your decision puts children in camps where they will be detained indefinitely. You may only be arguing in a courtroom, but your motions keep this terrible system of human suffering working. You can choose to stop this. No more torture at our borders. You don't have to follow orders. No more torture at our borders. You don't have to follow orders. No more torture at our borders. You don't have to follow orders. No more torture at our borders. You don't have to follow orders.
Together. 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 My name is Rabbi Jason Kimmelman Block. I'm standing together with my brothers and sisters from faith traditions. We are here. We are here to say together that this society is in a state of moral emergency. And we will read for some passages from our tradition. I will read from Psalm 146, which says to the oppressed, "This will pass because there is a power much greater." And it says to the oppressor, "This will pass because there is a much greater power than you." Hallo Adonai b'chayai. I will praise the Eternal all my life. As long as I exist, I will sing. Do not trust in the nobility, the wealthy, the powerful, the despotic man. He will not be any help. Tate rucho yashuv ladmato. His breath will depart. He will return to the ground. His plans will come to nothing. Happy is the one whose hope is in the creator of heaven and earth, the ocean, all that is in them, all that ties every one of us together, who keeps faith forever. Oseh mishpat lasukim, who secures justice for those who are wronged. Noten lechem lerevim, and gives food to the hungry. Adonai matir asurim, the all-powerful sets prisoners free. Adonai ohev tzadikim, and loves those who do the right thing. Adonai shomer et gerim, who protects the immigrant. Yatom va'almana yoded, and gives courage to the orphan and to the widow. V'derech rishayim ya'aved, and afflicts those who prey on the weak. Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Zion ledor vador, hallelujah. The power that binds each and every one of us together with all of creation, understanding that we are all connected. That power shall rule for each and every generation. Hallelujah.
Christianity is a religion of love. Here now a reading from the Christian scripture, the Gospel of Matthew. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me. And then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you? And the king will answer, truly I tell you, just as you did it to the one of the least of these who are of my family, you did it to me. Amen.
Alaikum, as-Salaam. In Islam, it takes us back to Adam. And it says about Christians and Jews and others, it calls them families. We are here together as family. As it said, families belong together. I will be reading from the Holy Quran, chapter 4, which is entitled, The Women, with the mothers. O mankind, be regardful of and have a high respect for your Lord, guardian, evolver, cherisher, and sustainer, who created you all from a single soul and created from it your mate. And from them comes countless others. Be regardful of the Almighty, to whom you petition for your mutual rights, and be regardful of and have a high respect for the family ties. Verily, surely, Almighty God is over you all, and is always observing. And serve Almighty God. Ascribe nothing as partners with him. Show kindness unto parents, and unto near kindred, and orphans, and the needy, and to those who are neighbors who are of your kin, and to neighbors who are not of your kin, and to those who are traveling, and to the wayfarer. Yes. See, Almighty God loves not those who are arrogant and boastful.
Good morning. It's hot out here, but it's not as hot as it is for those children that we're standing for. My name is Reverend Tracy Blackman, Executive Minister of Justice and Local Church Ministries for the United Church of Christ. And I stand on behalf of our mothers and fathers and grandparents and ancestors who have carried us time and time again through these iron curtains of white nationalism. I stand as the descendant of enslaved black women whose children were ripped from their nursing breast and loving arms. And I stand as a mother on behalf of the sacredness of family, God's first holy unit. I have come this morning, my friends, to remind us that we have been here before. I know it feels brand new, but it's not. We have been here before. America has been here before. Black and brown people who have been historically oppressed and marginalized in this country and erased from our historical narrative, we have been here before. And here we are again, declaring ourselves to be one nation under God, and yet daring to curse that which God has blessed. God is a God of the whole world. God cares for all of the creation. Who is this God whose name we declare as we legislate evil in God's name? I am reminded of the warning of the prophet Isaiah, who declares in the First Testament, "Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights, and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people, making widows their prey and robbing the fatherless." What we are witnessing at our borders with black and brown families today is not who America has become. This is who America has always been. This has been this nation's response whenever its false god of whiteness is threatened. This too is our story. America snatched indigenous children from their families and their land in the name of God. America enslaved African-born children from their families for subjugation and control in the name of God. America snatched Japanese American children from their families, fueled by fabricated fear in the name of God. America snatched 250,000 predominantly black and brown children from parents who are caged in a prison industrial complex that is too profitable for the few. In the name of God, America snatched over 30,000 children and caged them in juvenile detention centers, where we would rather incarcerate than educate, in the name of God. And let us not forget, America sent back fleeing Jewish refugees too, back to their death in the name of God. We have been this way before. And we must not forget, we must always remember that this is not as much about safe immigration policy as it is about separatist ideology. And people of faith must not be silent in the face of a God that we do not serve. Our silence will not save us, my friends. When our leaders use scripture to legislate hate, they do not speak on behalf of God. Listen, the misappropriation of Romans 13 was not strong enough to uphold slavery, and it is not strong enough to uphold this current evil. The legislation of evil does not make it holy. I need you to hear me. Our Supreme Court is wrong on this one. This court has been wrong before. In 1857, the court was wrong when they ruled against the freedom of Dred Scott. In 1883, the court was wrong when it ruled to uphold anti-miscegenation laws in Pace versus Alabama. You don't get to tell me who I can love. In 1896, the court was wrong when they ruled to uphold separate but equal legislation. In 1944, the court was wrong when they decided the alleviation of white American fear outweighed the liberties of Japanese Americans. And in this current moment, my friends, this court is wrong. And here's the good news. And just as all those other wrong racist decisions have been overturned, this one will be as well. History shows us we have been this way before. And friends, because we've been this way, we know we are not here alone. We stand in a long history of justice warriors. We stand on the shoulders of our ancestors who resisted slavery. We stand on the shoulders of those who fought for civil rights. We stand on the shoulders of those who fought for women's rights. We stand on the shoulders of those who fight for workers' rights. We stand on the shoulders of those who fight for gay rights. We stand on the shoulder of those who fought for rights for the poor. We stand on the shoulders of those who decry that Black Lives Matter. We stand on the shoulders of the dreamers. And we affirm that God and not the empire has the last word in human history. There is a higher judge than the Supreme Court. There is a higher law than that made by man. A moral law by which all people of faith must live. And that law is love, my friends. People of faith must lead with love. People of faith must legislate with love. People of faith must be governed by love. People of faith must fight always for love. For if there is not love, there is not God. And now abide faith, hope, love. These three, but the greatest of these is love. History says, remember, history says, love always wins. Keep fighting, my friends. We stand surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, and we are standing on the side of love. May it be so in the names of all the names of God that we use. The God of the
Good afternoon. Say hi to the helicopter taking a picture of all 30,000 and growing. I love you too. We're here because there's parents right now who can't sing lullabies to their kids. And, well, I'm just going to sing a lullaby that I wrote. And this is for those parents. And we're not going to stop until they can sing them to their kids again. Dear Theodosia, what to say to you? You have my eyes, you have your mother's name. When you came into the world, you cried, and it broke my heart. I'm dedicating every day to you. Domestic life was never quite my style. When you smile, you knock me out, I fall apart, and I thought I was so smart. You will come of age with our young nation. We'll bleed and fight for you. We'll make it right for you. If we lay a strong enough foundation, we'll pass it on to you. We'll give the world to you, and you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday, yeah, you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday. Oh, Philip, when you smile, I am undone. My son, look at my son. Pride is not the word I'm looking for. There is so much more inside me now. Oh, Philip, you outshine the morning sun. My son, when you smile, I fall apart, and I thought I was so smart. My father wasn't around. I swear that I'll be around for you. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll make the world safe and sound for you. We'll come of age with our young nation. We'll bleed and fight for you. We'll make it right for you. If we lay a strong enough foundation, we'll pass it on to you. We'll give the world to you, and you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday, yeah, you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday. Don't stop, don't give up until these families are reunited. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Are you feeling strong? Are you ready for what's before us? My name is Alicia Keys. Thank you. And I'm a mother.
That's all right. We got a little sound issue. I'm a mother. I love you. Thank you. My 7-year-old son is here with me today. His name is Egypt. And I couldn't even imagine not being able to find him. I couldn't even imagine being separated from him or scared about how he's being treated. So this is all of our fight, because if it can happen to any child, it can happen to my child and your child and all of our children. So I'm here to read the words of another mother whose son was held in immigration detention. The names have been changed, but the words are hers. My name is Margarita. I am the mother of Carlos, who is currently being held by the Office of Refugee Resettlement in a detention center in Portland, Oregon. The first time I realized Carlos had arrived in the United States was when I received a voicemail from him in which he told me he was being held in Kansas City. When I spoke to Carlos, I felt my soul had returned to my body. I had spent nights without sleep, searching and searching for my son without knowing where he was, a torture day by day. The case manager explained to me that he was going to send me some forms to apply to be my son's sponsor, and he asked me for many documents. I was also given a home check. The investigator assured me that in a week they would have results, that for the new year they would surely give me my son. I got so excited I even bought some Christmas presents for my son. I have them. I still have them, and they're still wrapped in the Christmas wrapping paper. And they give me deep sorrow every time I see them. First they tell you in a few weeks you will have your child, then in a month, and then in another month, but they never fulfill their promise. With such delay, I have asked myself, what am I doing wrong? Have I not sent everything they asked from me? I want them to at least allow me to see him one day, if only for a while. What mother would not want to have her son in her arms, if only for one moment? So please hold this mother in your heart and never forget her family's struggles.
My name is America Ferreira. And I am here not only as a brand new mother, as the child, the proud child of Honduran immigrants, and not only as an American who sees it as her duty to be here defending justice. I am here as a human being with a beating heart who can feel pain, who understands compassion, and who can easily imagine what it must feel like to struggle the way families are struggling right now. It is easy to imagine that I would hope that if it was my family being torn apart, if it was my brother being arbitrarily criminalized, if it was my sister being banned, then someone would stand up for me and my family. It is that simple. This fight does not belong to one group of people, one color of people, one race of people, one gender. It belongs to all of us. What makes humans remarkable is our capacity to imagine. We have an imagination, let's use it. As I read these words from a grandfather who was fighting to be reunited, who is fighting to be reunited with his granddaughter, I want you to imagine that this is your child, that you are this grandfather. These are his words, the names are changed. I am the grandfather of Teresa, who is currently detained at Shiloh Residential Treatment Center. I am currently living in a duplex apartment in Oakland, California. I work every day as a food vendor. I want to be her sponsor because she is my granddaughter and I am her grandfather. I spent a lot of time with Teresa when we both lived in El Salvador. I came to the United States when she was 5 years old and have helped to financially support Teresa and her mother ever since. I think I would be a good sponsor for Teresa because I want to take care of her, and I am able to do so. In February 2018, a home investigator came to my house. She asked me a lot of questions and had me fill out a lot of paperwork. I got the impression that the home investigator didn't think I made enough money to be able to support Teresa and myself. I know I don't make a lot of money, but I make enough to care for Teresa. Everything I have, I will give to her. I have not heard anything since then. When I reached out to the social worker at the Shiloh Treatment Center, she told me that the Office of Refugee Resettlement threw out my application. And that they are going to transfer Teresa somewhere else. The last time that we talked, she told me that she was starting to feel desperate. I told her not to lose hope, and that we are just waiting to see what the government says about me. Please remember these words. And Teresa, please do not lose hope. Hold him in your heart. We cannot forget.
America and I are here to say what we know we all feel and we all believe, and that is that our democracy is at stake. Our humanity is at stake. We are out here to save the soul of our nation. We need all the children reunited to their parents. We demand to end the zero humanity policy. We need to save the Supreme Court. And we need to vote. Because when we vote, we win. And so America and I want you to join us to say, we're not backing down. We're not backing down. We're not backing down. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for not backing down.
Good afternoon. My name is Rabbinic Pastor Dr. Aliza Levy Erber, and I am an immigrant. My family came to the United States to get away from the trauma of war. My family came to the United States because they knew that the opportunity to afford their daughters a more normal life was possible here in America, the land of opportunity. As our ship rolled into New York Harbor, we passed the Statue of Liberty. Liberty, freedom. And since everyone's life matters, everyone's life matters. Children must be given the opportunity to be raised in a warm and safe environment that will cloak them for the rest of their lives. I am 75 years old. "74.5 years ago, my mother faced the most excruciating pain any parent could face by being forcibly and traumatically separated from her 8-month-old daughter. I was taken away, and she, my mother, did not know where I was taken to or whether she would ever see me again. We were apart for almost 2 years and finally brought together again after the war. I did not know who this stranger who came to collect me was, and I didn't want any part of her. Years of bonding were lost and had to be started again. I was traumatized and I was afraid, and this stayed with me to today. I am a Holocaust survivor. One of the few still alive today. And I was a hidden child in a hole dug in the woods in a bunker with my mouth taped shut. 2 years of parent-child bonding lost. Crucial years in a child's early development lost. The years when the love of a parent and the physical closeness between child and parent, the years when a child learns to trust the world around her and that the world is a safe place or could be, all lost. I never learned this all-important lesson. And all these children today, separated from their parents, have lost the opportunity to learn trust or ever feel safe in their life. Shame is right. Shame. I want to share with you a little of what it feels like to be the product of traumatic separation. Above all and always, there is internal chaos. There is no peace inside. The world is a really scary place. Always. The world is fragmented with pieces of memory floating up from the subconscious mind, like a jagged edge of a broken mirror, and all I see are distorted images. Can you imagine putting a child in a cage? Alone? Without her mother, without her father? Alone? What nightmares, what distorted truths do you think that child will have for the rest of her life? This is what traumatic separation produces, ladies and gentlemen. Lifelong fear. The fear that the shaky world that you have finally created for yourself will crumble at any moment. The fear that unless you have total control over every minute aspect of your life, will dissolve and you find yourself back in a black hole or a cage surrounded by boots, uniforms, and guns. What does this administration think all this does to these children? And how dare they? Shame, 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 shame. When I was asked to speak today, my first inclination was to say no. I am not political. To me, politics often creates a feeling of chaos. They can create chaos. And I will do anything to avoid chaos. But then I see the faces of the children separated from their parents. I see the tears, the pain. I see the fear and the confusion. I see the little scrunched up faces not understanding the chaos around them or the cages that are holding them. And I know, political or not, once I was where they are now. And we, all of us, must speak on behalf of these children and their parents. I too am an immigrant. I too was forcibly separated and traumatically separated from my parents. And I too must speak. Never again! Never again! Never again! Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Tate. I'm here to talk about the experience of Japanese Americans and how what is happening today reflects so much of what happened to us during World War II. On the morning of April 28, 1942, as my family prepared to board the buses that would take us to one of the 10 concentration camps in this country, I was literally taken from my mother's arms and separated from my family. The circumstances of that incident was World War II, when President Franklin Roosevelt signed an executive order which allowed the Army to remove and incarcerate the entire Japanese American population from the West Coast. And despite any lack of evidence of any wrongdoing by any person of Japanese ancestry, the government stated that we were a threat to the security of the United States and that we were a danger to every American. I've spent a lifetime trying to understand how I, as a 2.5-year-old boy, was a threat, such a threat, to the security of this nation. The circumstances were different then, but we hear the echoes of that moment in history. Through 70 years, we hear today the same venom of racism, of bigotry, and the promulgation of lies to justify a racist policy. There is no difference between zero tolerance and our situation 70 years ago. Both policies are based on nothing more than racism, And in both cases, neither judges the individual but condemns the group. I was taken from my mother's arms because I had broken out with German measles that morning. The memory of the 2.5, 3 weeks that I was alone are really vague to me because I was so young. But over the years, I've come to understand the impact of that time, those 3 weeks, on my life. But I always wondered what it did to my mother, because today you read about the mothers and their children being separated. I know that it took my mother over 40 years to be able to talk to me about that morning, about what happened. And in talking with my older brother, I know that for the time that I was separated from the family, all day long, my mother would cry. And at night, he said he would wake up to hear her whimpering in her cot. I can't imagine how painful that had to have been for her. I was blessed because I was young and I don't remember a lot of it. But she remembered every single moment of those 3 weeks without me, not knowing where I was or what was going to happen to me. And so I think about today, what's happening today. And I think about the mothers at the border and how they must experience so much agony and despair, and how hopeless they must feel, not knowing where their children were. What kind of nation does this to mothers and children? Not America. This is not America. We're told it's their punishment for trying to come across the border without papers. That justifies taking children from their mothers? Again, what kind of nation does this kind of thing? What kind of nation puts children in cages? We're here to say that we want the families to be reunited. It's important in this moment of national shame that we maintain a determination to end this madness and to ensure a future in which we will make America truly great again, not in the vision of a cruel administration that sits there, but in the vision of our founding fathers. So it's important that we're here because this is the true America, all of you out there. And we're here to say, end this madness, reunite the family, end zero tolerance. Thank you.
Everybody in the house, just so you know, there are cooling stations over at H. If you need to go cool off, there are cooling stations at H. Don't stand out here if you're dying. Go cool off. We'll be here a while.
It's not easy trying to understand how the world can be so cold, stealing the souls of man. Storm clouds rain down on all your dreams. You wrestle with the fear and doubt, and sometimes it's hard, but you gotta believe there's a better place where a mother waits, and every tear she'll wipe away. The darkness will be gone, but we shall be strong. So hold on to your faith. There will come a day. There will come a day. Yeah, there will come a day. There will come a day. Wars are raging, lives are shattered, innocence is lost, and hopes are scattered. The old are forgotten, children are forsaken. In this world we're living in, is there anything sacred? Where a mother waits, listen, and every tear she'll wipe away. The darkness will be and gone. We shall be strong. So hold on to your faith. There will come a day. There will come a day.
more time, Washington, D.C. How you doing today? It is absolutely incredible to see the crowd out here today, to see how many of you responded to the moral obligation to be here to demand that families belong together. My name is Isra Shakir, and I stand before you today with a broken heart. As the refugee campaign lead at Oxfam America, I devote each and every day to finding new and creative ways to fight this administration's xenophobic rhetoric and attacks on refugees, asylum seekers, immigrants, and other vulnerable families with all my might. And I will not stop. We will not stop. But as a Syrian-American Muslim woman, I wake up each morning with a knot in my stomach, thinking about my own family and wondering what new injustice the day will bring. The attacks are coming at us from all sides. This past week, 5 men on the Supreme Court made it legal to discriminate against me, against my family, solely because of how... Thank you. Solely because of what we believe and how we pray. No amount of window dressing or legal maneuvering can obscure this reality that ever since the day Trump called for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States, he has made it his mission to ban Muslims. Plain and simple. Shame. For me, this policy doesn't just hit close to home, it hits my home literally. It hits my family. I'm a proud American, born and raised in Boulder, Colorado. I grew up spending my summers visiting my extended family in Syria, playing with my cousins and bouncing on the laps of my aunts and uncles. But I haven't been able to see any of them since the conflict broke out in Syria 7 years ago. And now this Muslim ban prevents me from being reunited with them here in my home, the United States of America. And that is not okay. Days that should have been among the happiest of my life were touched by the sadness of my family's absence. Feeling like part of my heart was missing as I watched my friends hug their aunts and uncles at our college and master's graduation ceremonies. Looking out into the crowd as I married my best friend to see over half the room where my family should have been empty. How many more life milestones will my family have to miss? Will they be here the day I have my first child to watch his or her first steps? Family is everything, and nothing is more cruel than separating family members from each other. I am heartbroken that the Supreme Court chose xenophobia and bigotry over me and my family, that they stood on the side of hatred and fear instead of love and truth, because that's what this is. These are not just policies, not just statistics, not just words on a piece of paper. They are human lives on the line. Too many of our elected officials try to justify and rationalize this administration's discriminatory executive orders, its cruel family separation policies, its xenophobic rhetoric. But today, we call it what it is: bigotry. Looking out over this beautiful, huge crowd, which I never imagined I'd be speaking in front of, so I'm so honored. I know so many of you have also been personally affected by this administration's bigotry as well. And that's why we are all here right now. For those of you who are lucky enough to not have been targeted yet, I want to ask you to think about your families. What would you sacrifice to see them, to be with them? Imagine being torn apart from them. It's as if you are torn apart from your entire world. All of these atrocities are one and the same. Whether it's tearing children away from parents seeking safe haven from violence in Central America, or blocking a Somali refugee from being reunited with his wife. This is about cruel practices that show an utter lack of moral fiber and the complete failure of this administration to acknowledge the humanity of these brave and fearless individuals longing for the same security, peace, and sense of normalcy that we all want. Thank you. We are tired. Too many of us know what it feels like to wake up every morning since Trump took office and be forced to fight for our rights. To have to prove your Americanness. To have to brace yourselves for blatant hateful attacks on all your identities. My family and I do not have to prove our humanity, and neither do you. We are all America, and America's all of us. Now I want to address all of you who are here in solidarity. I need you to commit yourself to this fight. It's not enough to take off one Saturday and come to a protest. I need you to make this the start of your activism, not the end of it. I need you to mobilize your privilege. This fight is not just for today, not this week, this month, or even year. It is a fight to take back our country and reclaim the vision of the Statue of Liberty that stands as a beacon and hope of light and light for every single person. Too many of us know what it feels like not to have the luxury of turning off the news or getting off of social media. For us, this is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We need all of you now more than ever. Trump is counting on your complacency, your distraction, but I urge you, prove him wrong. Stay horrified, stay angry. Do not recede into silence or indifference, as tempting as it may be. Sometimes we need you to stand with us as we lead this fight. And sometimes we need you to stand in front of us to protect us from the onslaught. And all the time we need you engaged and active as they try to divide us. Will we let them divide us? That's right. We cannot fight this alone, but united we will prevail. We know it. So will we stand united today? Every day? I need you to say it louder so everyone in the White House or out golfing can hear you. Will we stand united? Together we will continue to dissent, continue to speak truth to power, and continue to fight for our American values. This is a welcoming country, and one man in the White House and 5 men in the Supreme Court can never, ever change that. When I say no ban, you say no wall, no ban, no ban, no ban. Thank you all so much. God bless all of you.
Con colbeb que ella no nakil te khale Hallo. Schonte machulkanone il technisch ahu kishkochimbach ton kach tejo México que Estados Unidos. Vamos a pedir a la energía de este día dentro del calendario maya. Hoy es el Día de la Sabiduría y ustedes han pensado muy bien, los organizadores de este evento tan grande que ha nacido del corazón para dar solidaridad a la tragedia que atraviese los niños en la frontera. Pero este no es un caso nada más. El caso también del asesinato de una muchacha, Claudia, en la frontera, que fue asesinado por los guardias.
Thank you. We're going to ask for the energy of the Mayan calendar to be with us here today. This is the month of wisdom. And you and the organizers thought very well to do an event like this, a big event with lots of heart, to show solidarity in the face of the tragedy that we're seeing right now with the children at the border. But it's not about only that. It's also about someone named Claudia, who was killed, murdered at the border by the Border Patrol.
Nosotros como pueblos originarios de este continente, Abya Yala, hemos unido a nuestros corazones norte, centro y suramérica.
We, the first peoples of this continent, Abya Yala, have gotten together in one heart, North, Central, and South America.
Nosotros como pueblos originarios tenemos una historia, tenemos una vida, tenemos dignidad de ser para estar con ustedes y no hay necesidad de pedir permiso porque esta madre tierra es de nosotros.
We, the first peoples, have a history, we have life, and we have a dignity to be here with you. And for that, we don't need to ask permission. Because Mother Earth belongs to all of us.
Nuestros ancestros han vivido por más de 25,000 años en este continente. Yo como de ascendencia maya estoy representando a mi pueblo que también ha sido masacrado, ha sido arrastrado por el sistema del país.
Our ancestors have been here for 25,000 years on this continent. And as their descendant, as a Maya descendant, I'm here representing my people who have also been massacred and dragged through the mud by this government.
Agradezco a mis hermanas y hermanos de este lugar, de este sagrado lugar, que nos han dado una solidaridad, los de Piscawi.
And I want to thank my brothers and sisters from this sacred place, the Piscataway, who have shown solidarity to us.
No solo Sur y Centroamérica hemos llegado, pero también han venido muchas personas de todo el mundo.
It's not just North and South who have come here, but also many people from all over the world.
Entonces, tenemos que agradecer a la Madre Tierra, pero también hay que dar solidaridad con el corazón para que cese ese desgarre de los niños en la frontera, porque esto no es una historia hasta ahora, sino que ha sido una historia en muchos países.
And so we have to thank Mother Earth, and we have to show solidarity with our whole hearts, and we have to stop this tragedy that is happening with the children at the border. And this is not a history that has just begun, but this is a history that has gone on for a long time.
Vamos a pedir al corazón del águila, al corazón del quetzal y al corazón del cóndor que nos guíe en el camino blanco, en el camino que dejaron nuestros abuelos.
We're going to ask for the heart of the eagle and the quetzal and the condor to guide us on the white path that our grandparents have left for us.
Y les pido en nombre de estos pueblos que no nos ignoren, que nos den ese lugar para hacer que nos dé el derecho de vivir junto con ustedes sobre la madre tierra.
And we're going to ask you to recognize us and our name, to not ignore us, but to give us a place because we have the right to live with you on this Mother Earth.
Que el corazón del cielo, corazón de la madre tierra, corazón del aire y corazón del agua, esa es la esencia de nuestra vida como pueblos de esta madre tierra.
The heart of the sky, the heart of Mother Earth, the heart of the air, and the heart of the water. This is the essence of our lives here as people on Mother Earth.
Gracias a ustedes que han venido de diferentes lugares para dar la solidaridad y pedir justicia para que no se quede esto en la impunidad.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for coming from so many different places to show solidarity and to ask for justice and an end to impunity.
Para que no se quede en la impunidad. Que la energía del abuelo Sol nos dé más coraje, nos dé más resistencia para seguir luchando de hoy en adelante.
May the energy of Father Son give us the courage to continue, the resistance to continue, to fight and to move forward with this fight.
Y les pido de nuevo para que no nos ignore a los pueblos originarios de este continente para estar siempre juntos.
And I ask you again to not ignore the first peoples of this continent and to always be together.
Porque nuestros niños que están en la cárcel ahora o están aislados de la familia, ellos no hablan español, solo hablan su idioma nativa.
Because our children who are in jail right now and who are isolated do not speak Spanish. They just speak their original tongues.
Necesitamos pedir a las autoridades, a los abogados, a los jueces que busquen intérpretes para sacar adelante esto que está pasando en la frontera.
We need to ask the authorities, the lawyers, the judges to find interpreters so we can resolve this issue that we're seeing at the border.
También a los gobiernos de nuestros países que pongan la mano en la conciencia, que no piensen solo en su robo y explotación de nuestras tierras, que ellos también tienen derecho de velar sobre nuestros pueblos.
And also, the governments of our countries, we have to ask them to put their hearts and their conscience and not only focus on their graft and exploitation of Mother Earth, because it is also their responsibility to watch over her.
Gracias por la solidaridad y siempre vamos a estar juntos.
Thank you for the solidarity, and we will always be together. Until we meet again.
Dear community, my name is Leah. I am 12 years old and I'm from Miami, Florida. I am the proud daughter of a domestic worker who loves me very much. My mom's job is very important, unlike other governments. I'm sorry. She takes care of children as a nanny and makes sure they are healthy and safe. Our government instead harms children and deports parents every day. I am here today because the government is separating and detaining refugee parents and children at the border who are looking for safety. Our government also continues to separate U.S. citizen children like me from their parents every day. This is evil. It needs to stop. It makes me sad to know that children can't be with their parents. I don't understand why they are being so mean to us children. Don't they know how much we love our families? Don't they have a family too? Why don't they care about us children? We love you. I love you more. Why do they hurt us like this? It is unfair that they get to spend time with their families today while there are children in detention centers and in cages all alone missing their parents who are thrown in jail. I live with the constant fear of losing my mom to deportation. My mom is strong, beautiful, and brave. She is also a person who taught me how to speak up when I see things that aren't fair. ICE wants to take away my mom from me. I don't like to live with this fear. It's scary. I can't sleep. I can't study. I am stressed. I am afraid that they will take my mom away while she is at work, out driving, or at home. I don't understand why this administration won't support mothers who just want a better life for their children. This needs to change. We cannot allow them to keep hurting families, communities, and children. I know that together we can make things better for families and kids. I want to be an example to other kids who are going through the same problems as me. I want to tell kids at the border and all over the country not to give up and fight for their families. We are all human and deserve to be loved and cared for. We are children. Our government has to do the right thing and stop separating us from our parents and stop locking us up. I won't give up fighting for the right to stay with my mom. I am not asking for a favor. It is my right to stay as a child, to live in peace with my mother and the rest of my family. Mom, yo te quiero mucho. Lucharé por ti siempre. Families belong together. Say it with me louder. Families belong together. Thank you.
Washington, D.C. I stand on behalf of the more than 1.2 million women entangled in the United States criminal legal system. 200,000 currently in prison and 1 million on parole or probation. If you have ever heard the cries of an incarcerated mother at 3 o'clock in the morning, desperate to see and hold her children, it is something you will never forget. They have created policies of separation, punishment, and incarceration as an answer to the struggles of poor people and derived from the policies of slavery. Incarcerated women are mostly mothers. The choices women make in search of food and shelter, and too often to escape violence and abuse, are the same no matter what side of the border they are on. At the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls, we have spoken to incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women throughout the United States, and we have traveled to Mexico and Brazil and the Caribbean and spoken to incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women there as well. Whether in Chicago or the Bronx or Appalachia or the rural communities of Lower Alabama, the women's stories are the same as women in the states and towns of Mexico or the favelas of Sao Paulo. Stories of lifetimes of struggle as a result of being cash-poor women navigating through persistent poverty and lack of food and housing. They tell the same stories of over-criminalization and a drug war that for decades targeted their communities and continues to cause devastating social and economic disruption that has left the women of our communities alone to rear children with little to no support or access to meaningful resources and opportunity. And most disturbing are the same stories of being witnesses to and victims of violence while their trauma goes unacknowledged and untreated. The common stories of sexual violence, often starting during childhood. We also know the pain of being separated from our children and incarcerated in jails and prisons across this country that leads to further incarceration of our children. Women are currently the fastest growing incarceration population in this United States. I know this to be true as I lived in a federal prison as an incarcerated woman, during which time I was separated from my 6-month-old baby boy and our daughters. Millions of children are separated from their mothers due to unnecessary incarceration, and 85% of incarcerated mothers were the primary caretakers of their children prior to their incarceration. What kind of country takes the most vulnerable and harmed among us and responds to the pain and trauma with prison and protracted sentences, increasing the pain, suffering, and economic disparity that deepens the poverty for their children, families, and communities? We must recognize that separation of mothers from their children under any circumstances must be avoided whenever possible. Keeping families together should be a priority of a civilized society. Yes, we need immigration reform, and we need criminal justice reform. We need sentencing and policy reform that stops the separation of mothers from their children, whether they are mothers making choices in search of a better life that brings them to our borders, or whether we are talking about mothers from the East Capitol housing development or the 7th and 8th wards with the highest rate of incarceration right here in Washington, D.C., who are locked up in the D.C. jail, state prisons, or any of the thousands of women I was incarcerated with in the federal system. These women need to be reunited with their children as well. As we work for immigration reform and make the demand to keep families together, let's not leave out the fight for freedom, dignity, and justice on behalf of the women and children separated by overcriminalization and mass incarceration. Join us in our work at the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls to end the mass incarceration of women and girls.
My name is Diane Guerrero. Me llamo Diane Guerrero. And I am here today not as a politician, a child psychologist, an activist, an actress, or an author. I am here today as a woman who, as a young child, was separated from her family. I am here today to be painfully honest about the damage these government policies do to human beings, do to kids. I am here to stand before you and convey that even some 17 years later, I still remember how it felt when I first cried out for my parents and they couldn't answer. I am here as a voice for thousands of children without one. For those who will wake up every day and have to tell themselves they didn't deserve for their parents to be taken from them, that it wasn't their fault. Every day, on top of trying to pursue their dreams and give love to those around them, they have to continue convincing themselves that they too are worthy of love, that their lives are valued, that their families love them. I will be honest about myself. I have had to be very imaginative and very creative to get where I am today. Having my family taken away from me had a severe impact on all of us. It was so irreversible and so irresponsible for our government, which never considered what would happen to me and my brother Eddie. You deserve so much more than what you have been given. You deserve so much more, and I love you. I love you. Years later, I have days where I want to change the world, and days when I cannot even find the strength to begin. I share my struggle to help open eyes to the agony that every one of these kids will face forever. It is not temporary, it is forever. It is for life. My situation 17 years ago was different. I cannot imagine living in a cage away from my parents, away from anyone I know or anywhere that I've lived. I certainly cannot imagine being detained with my parents as the new policy dictates. I was lucky enough not to be caged, but that is only because I did not exist in the eyes of the government. They had no regard for a child left behind. Whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, I still don't know. But I would have had a much different story to tell if I had been imprisoned after being separated from my family. Without a warm bed, only the cold faces of ICE agents and the crinkly feeling of a Mylar blanket. I was lucky enough to be with my parents until I was 14. Having my parents tell me that I could do anything. that I was special and that I matter. That gave me the confidence to last me a lifetime. I don't know why I was lucky enough to have people in my community take me in, to be able to continue school, or why I was lucky enough to find work or to go to college. I do know that kind of luck is 1 in a million. I also know I wouldn't have been so lucky if I had been among today's generation of children who will be irreversibly damaged by our government's actions. It's a denial of children's humanity to say that because they were born in difficult or a dangerous place at the wrong time, that they don't deserve a second chance. That they shouldn't ask for refuge. How many more children are we willing to subject to a lifetime of pain? Once my family was taken, I became fully aware that my community matters less to some people. That we are treated differently because of the color of our skin or where our parents were born. But we are now in a moment where we can no longer be blind to the blatant disregard of human life. This time, the stakes are too visible, too well documented to be ignored. It has reached you. It has reached all of us and forced us to ask ourselves, what kind of country do we want to be? One that violates the rights of children, including the fundamental right to seek asylum? Or do we want to be an America that values children and families and the freedom to be who we are? And let's not forget our citizen children and our citizen children of color whose lives are threatened every day for reasons beyond immigration status. As one who has seen firsthand, I have taught myself to have hope. I have to believe that this is an opportunity for us to rise above the tyranny, the ignorance, the malpractice, and believe in change. This is a chance for us to come together as a nation and rise above division and fear. Only then can we stop the separation of families and stop the policies that place children in cages. So for our families and children, let us march and make our voices heard. Remember this in November. Remember this in November. When we march to the polls, remember our anger, the outrage, and the desire to act. Remember in November that the end to these cruel policies starts with us. Te amo, mamá, papá, hermano. Te amo and I miss you every day. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeremiah James. I grew up in the country, back on a small farm right outside of Waynesville, North Carolina. We grew tobacco, raised chickens in the Appalachian Mountains. I have 5 younger brothers and sisters, and my dad's a carpenter. We moved around a lot as a child because it was hard to find a house that we could afford. If we couldn't find somewhere to rent, we would camp in the woods sometimes. My only option was a door laid across the front seats of an RV. When I was a kid, I didn't see the big picture. I used to think immigrants were a burden on the economy, and I used to think it was us against them. But that was just a big con. Immigrants are poor people just like me, and pitting us against each other is not the solution. My daughter, Journey, is my best friend. Many years ago, I was separated from Journey while serving a 3-month sentence. The reason? Driving my wife to work on a suspended driver's license. While I was on the inside, I found out that Journey needed to have surgery. She was only 4 years old, and they would not let me go be there for her. I could not be at her bedside. I could not hold her hand. That experience nearly broke me. And my heart breaks now for the babies who are alone and in cages. I want to speak to my community right now. In small towns all across the country, migrant families, plain and simple, are just like ours. I know who is really hurting our community, and it's certainly not desperate families and toddlers in cages. Trump's policies are horrible and racist. His policy of family detention, separation, and incarcerating families together does not solve the crisis we are facing in Haywood County. His policy is not going to bring back jobs or give us health care. He's taking health care and food stamps away to give more to the richest of the rich. And we need to come together now, because we're all the same in all the ways that matter. When we come together, things will start to get better for everyone. The economy will pick up, families will be together, everything will grow. We just have to have a little bit of a vision and open-mindedness. I'm a 7th-generation resident of Haywood County, North Carolina, and I still live right where I grew up. But my ancestors were migrants to the mountains all the same. I see myself in these families. I see myself in their humanity. I'm here to say that I stand with them, and I hope that you will too.
Hello. My name is Morgan Manessa Sheets, and I'm a mom and a small business owner from Maryland. And I'm here with my daughters, Lucy and Katie, who are being very brave. The scope of the crisis that we face is shocking, but we are powerful. Just this week, there were powerful protests in Tornillo and Brownsville and just down the street at the Hart Senate office building. More than 500 courageous women took over the rotunda. We know our actions are forcing reactions. A judge ordered children to be released to their parents. He gave the president 14 days to reunite the children under 5 and 30 days to reunite all of the children with their parents. That's July 10th and 26th. We demand he meet those deadlines. We demand the immediate reunification of all the families and stop separating families once and for all. We demand the end to indefinite family detention. No family camps, no baby jails. We demand that President Trump end his zero humanity policy that's created an atrocity at the border. So here's what we can do. After today, next week, members of Congress will be home for the July 4th holiday. We want every elected official and every candidate on the record on this issue. If you're ready to do this, take out your phones. You've got them out. Text family to 668-366. This crisis shows us that our elected leaders and our institutions are failing us. If we want this democracy to work, we must make it work. This means we must vote and make sure that everyone votes too and can vote too. This and so much more is at stake right now. If you're ready to fight for families and stand up for democracy, text family 668-366. Let's use our power to put companies on notice. If you put your profits over the safety and the well-being of children and families, we will use the power of our pocketbooks to hold you accountable. Stop supporting companies like Wells Fargo that are enabling this detention and carrying out these horrors. So if you're ready, text family 668-366 and keep showing up. There will be more actions in the coming weeks and days. We have to remember, this is one of those moments in history. It will be in the history books, and our children will ask us, what did we do to stop it? You can find out more about those actions on familiesbelongtogether.org. Because one thing is for sure, we will not stand silently. We will not give up on children and families or each other. We are strong, we are resilient, and we must continue to be powerful. We will rise. And no matter how hard they try, we will not be divided. We are the people of this country, and together we will win. Thank you.
I'm gonna make a change for once in my life, yeah. It's gonna feel real good, gonna make a difference, gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? A summer's disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world, yeah, take a look at yourself and then make a change. Yeah, yeah. Na, 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 na. Oh, I've been a victim of a kind of gust of love. It's time that I realize that there is kids with no home, that nothing to lose. Could it be, really be, pretending that they're not alone? Oh, well, deeply scarred, somebody's broken heart, and a washed out dream. Washed out dream. They follow the pattern of the wind, you see, 'cause they got nowhere to be. That's why I'm starting with me. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make the change. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make that change. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Oh yeah, I'm asking him to change his ways. Come on, change. No message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make the change. You gotta get it right while you got the time, 'cause when you close your heart, then you close your mind. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Oh yeah, I'm asking him to change his ways. Come on, change. No message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. It's gotta start with you. Yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 come on. I'm gonna make a change. It's gonna feel real good. Come on. Gotta go for yourself. Come on. You gotta change. Yeah. Make that change. Make the change today. Gotta start with the man in the mirror. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Make that change. Start today with you. Man in the mirror. Just hold on, my brother. Hold on, my sister. We need to change. Yeah. Make that change. Make that change. Someone say make that change. Come on, say make the change. Yeah, yeah. We gotta change. Make that change. It's gotta start with the man in the mirror.
Okay, everybody, for those in Lafayette Park, please proceed safely and carefully towards the White House. Look for the marshals in red vests who can help show you where to go. If you're not in Lafayette Park, still look for the marshals. And now we are going to march to the Department of Justice.
good.